Hello, gorgeous people. Hello, Tassie people. I've been here 3.5 weeks now. It feels amazing to be here, and I am so glad I made the call to move to Queensland. However, I'm missing all my clients in Tasmania. It's amazing and sad, of course, but amazing mostly because over the 3 years of Red Room, I have formed such beautiful relationships with my clients, and it feels like family, of course, because people are rotating around and seeing me, and then they're bringing their families, and then they're bringing extras, and suddenly there's this huge, amazing Red Room family that I get to see all the time. And of course, I'm missing you because I'm here now. So I'm sending you lots of love. Now, I've been reading a book, and I wanted to share just a little bit with you. It's called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. Now, she is a researcher and doctor of brain research, and she's also quite infatuated. Well, not infatuated. She's really, really knowledgeable in the realms of the Bible. So this is a little godly, but I've been reading it and I've been enjoying it. And I wanted to share just 2 pages. So I'm going to read to you like your primary school English teacher. Can we just say I may mispronounce some stuff, like words. I only went to university, but I probably will mispronounce something, which will be hilarious, but, bear with me. So I have to put my glasses on. Rightio, and I can't really even see properly with my glasses on. So obviously the content, you're not quite going to understand it, but the reason I'm reading this part to you is because it resonates with me on the fact that I, someone who has practiced intention and energy healings for so long and have such a strong belief and core belief that, we can send love to somebody and they can receive it. And also we can send hate to someone and they can receive that as well. So this is just some scientific kind of research that also agrees with that. And this has many implications for all of us, because if we're not protecting ourselves, which is what happened to me just prior to coming here, I got overwhelmed and got swamped and got very ill. So when we're not protecting ourselves and getting into a routine of healing and self-care, we can take on other people's emotions and feelings. So we do need to be really aware of that stuff. So I'm going to read to you. Apologies. I used to be petrified at primary school or high school if we had to do reading in class. So here I go. So this is it's going to sound really weird, but stay with me. So quantum theory, quantum meaning energy. Theory calls entanglement, so entanglement of energies between 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, groups, whatever, bizarre behavior. For particles, such as 2 entangled particles behaving as one when far apart. So what it's saying is that you don't necessarily have to be physically with somebody to actually have impact. So there was some research, and unfortunately I don't know where that is, to find that as proof. But I remember reading that there was some research done between Australia and England, and there was, of course, placebo groups and what have you. But there were sick people in England, and people from Australia sent healing to certain groups. And there was an overwhelming amount of evidence that proved that focused energy and intent can affect other people. So physicists call such behavior non-local, which means that it is physically impossible to know the position and the momentum of a particle at the same time, which is fascinating because it basically says that there are some parts of our human makeup that they can't predict. And it can happen, as far as I was reading, over space and time. And it happens and conspires at the same time. So they can't predict when these things are going, but they know that they're going and they're doing it together. Another way of saying that that there is no space-time dimension. So suddenly science is going, we always thought it was one direction, but maybe space and time is something that we're really not quite sure of, and it's happening in the human body. So I love that stuff. As you know, I've quite often worked with projecting or sticky beaking with permission to have a look at what someone's been doing on the other side of the world. And I do this as a practice for myself. And I've quite often been able to see some friends doing something on the other side of the world, and I will send them a message 5 minutes later, go, have you just been doing this? And they'll say, stop sticky beaking. And yes, I was, right? So we know God operates outside of space-time dimension. I'm not aware of that. I don't know, but it's in the book. And we know prayer does too. I use the word focused intention instead of prayer or sending love. It doesn't, as I said, this is quite godly. There are many stories of people praying for each other on other sides of the planet and experiencing the effect of the prayer. In fact, there are many documented studies on the impact of prayer in the world of neuroscience, in addition to the millions of testimonies from Christians around the world. Now, we could argue, and we do, that self-prophecy or, living somebody's, I'm a clairvoyant, and quite often people will say, well, you have the power to tell someone that they can be something and they can make that happen, regardless if it was meant to be a prophecy or not. And that's absolutely true. You can absolutely, with intention, create a lifestyle. I've spent my entire life believing this and researching it. It's called manifestation. So, the question is, does the psychic awaken somebody's glory that's within them, giving them permission and the ambition to follow their dreams? Are we that evil? I'm saying, hey, I'm seeing this potential in you, and it's amazing. How about you follow that dream? An innovative experiment was done that showed that we are capable of impacting each other's minds and brains even when sensory signals, the 5 senses, electromagnetic signals, mirror neurons, and insular activity have all been removed. So the mirror neurons is when you can feel the other person's vibe. Do you know when you enter a room and you can tell someone's had a really big argument and they're just trying to pretend it didn't happen, but you feel it? And also mirroring is an example for physically with body language is when you really like somebody and you'll mirror them, their actions. This impact only worked with meditators who had built a relationship with each other. So not those in a control group who didn't have a relationship. So this is why it is so easy for me to sink in to those friends that live on the other side of the world and have a sticky beak, because we've already created an attachment energetically to each other. So when somebody's going to ring, or when someone's feeling down, you'll send them a text message. So it's not saying necessarily that you could just blow Joe across the other side of the world. You're going to be able to tap in and influence. So there is some sort of limitations is what they're saying. And particularly those meditators. If you look into research of meditation, this book really relies on the fact that thought creates everything in your body, and mind actually before brain, and then brain before body, and therefore action. So it's kind of, when you see how the brain creates memory, you would meditate every single day, which of course is what I've got back into. In the experiment, researchers got 2 people to meditate next to each other in an electronically shielded room called a Faraday cage. Then they separated them into 2 separate Faraday cages as they continued to meditate. Researchers shone light in the eye of the meditators. The part of the brain that lit up in that person's brain also lit up in the other meditator's brain, even though there was no sensory or electromagnetic connection. So these 2 people have been meditating together. They've separated them, popped them in separate rooms, shone a light into here, and when the brain has registered the light, the same place is lit up. That is so awesome. Like, I just love that. But then on the flip side, you've got to make sure who you're hanging out with and who is in your energy space. Because if that person goes to the next room and they decide to do some ice, if you are connected by brain at this stage, imagine what it's also doing to you. So I know I have to keep so healthy with my job because I'm an energy reader. So I pop in to people's energies and I read. So I have to feel and understand and conceptualize. So it can be really hard on me. Absolutely. So I'll continue reading. The part of the brain that lit up in the other person's brain also lit up in the mediator's brain, even though there was no sensory and electromagnetic connection. Right, we've got that. Classical physics say this could only work if there was a prior arrangement, something like if this happens, then that will happen. So no space-time dimension seems to violate our sense of cause and effect in space and time. For example, if someone needs heart surgery, then heart surgery is performed and is either successful or not. However, one study showed that those undertaking heart surgery who had a spiritual support in the form of prayer and social support showed a mortality rate 1/7 of those who did not. Other researchers found that those who attended church regularly and have stronger faith were less likely to die and had better overall health. So your belief system and your support system is extremely important. And I suppose it comes down to optimism, the belief and hope, and potentially, the belief that there's something bigger than us. Now, I'm definitely not pushing that onto you, but I think it's a really interesting idea. And I know for myself that my relationship with a universal energy that some people call God, Allah, universe, the cosmos, Big Brother, whatever you want to call it. But it is something, I think there is something inside of us that life is just better when we believe something else, having faith and hope and trust. There are over 1,200 studies linking intentional prayer and overall health and longevity. Meta-analysts in various medical journals have compiled results that show that intentional prayer significantly affects healing. Dr. Jeffrey Levi, a practicing neurosurgeon in California, prays for his patients before he operates on them and has amazing results. The majority of his patients want him to pray because it shows that he cares more about their health and about them as a person than a physician who does not discuss spiritual matters with his or her patients. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you lasted the distance and listened to that because I found it really fascinating. And of course, because this book is about memory and switching on your brain, the more you think about concepts and the longer that you spend time consciously, focused time on activities, the more, I suppose, connections and little trees that grow in your brain that start to help you live better, think better, be more wise, and make better choices. So the book has been absolutely fascinating. I've been enjoying it. There's been elements of it that I already knew, but also reading it again and seeing it from another point of view is always fantastic at really cementing things into your non-conscious brain, which is really where your core belief systems are. So, you constantly have to put things into long-term memory, so to speak. So anyway, I'm going to say love you and leave you and thank you. And I miss all your faces and I'm sending as much warmth as I can down to Tassie. But I am positively loving it here and I've started to get out and about and see some people and it's been fascinating, and I've done 2 online readings for old clients today, so that's made me extremely happy. And anyway, I'll go and I hope you all I will intentionally focus on sending you all lots of love. So sleep tight. See you later.